I'm Chris Bird-Jones. I am in Swansea, originally from Llangollen, North Wales, and my practice is, well, it revolves around glass as a material. It's not specifically stained glass anymore, or blowing, or casting. I actually work with all different techniques, methods of working. I used to play with glass when I was a child. And I always had little bits of mirror that I used to find and take around and look at different things with it. I think it was then I realised that you can actually, in a mirror, see what's behind you, whereas your eyes don't see that. So that was the magic for me of first with working with glass. But it wasn't until I had an exhibition after I left school. It was in the Eisteddfod in Llangollen, where I'm from. And I had my paintings up, and a friend of my mother's, who was the health visitor, said, "Oh, your work would look fantastic in stained glass." And so I said, "Oh, never thought about that." She told me about the course in Swansea, and I came down to Swansea, and Tim Lewis, who was there at the time, said, "You can start straight away." So I was thinking of painting, actually. It was painting or fine art. I'd gone to Reading University, but it was going into that department at Swansea and seeing all the colour bouncing around that really excited me. And yeah, I went to Swansea. Actually, after that, I practiced for a little while, made windows, actually did all the renovation of the leaded lights in Llangollen steam train railway. And that was when I first left here in Swansea. And then I set up my own studio, did some windows for churches and hospitals, and then actually started to think, what am I doing? You know, why am I working with this material? And I decided to apply to the Royal College, did a whole portfolio the year before of my ideas to do with glass and everything else. And it was there that I actually started really looking at it as a material. One of the things I did when I went to the Royal College was actually played with glass, and that's informed my practice ever since. So things like taking a sheet of glass and actually taking it out of this plane, which we normally have in the windows and everything else, and actually putting it in this plane so you get refracted light. You know, like this piece moving behind me, that's actually refracting the light around the space, and so all architectural work can be informed by that, you know, actually manipulating space. It's become much more of a language now, but when I was doing that in the, when was it, 1980s, it was very much wasn't everybody's language. So, you know, I was kind of at the forefront of that in some ways at the Royal College, and had opportunities to work with architects like Zaha Hadid, different people like that, following on from my time at the Royal College. If I'm commissioned for a piece of work, I work to the actual space where it's for, and I've been interested in sort of sustainable technologies like photovoltaics, different things like that, and actually incorporating elements of that within the architectural work. And if, you know, if the space demands maybe having a pool of glass in the middle of the space that will work to refract the light around, then I wouldn't necessarily stay within the commission, but actually make suggestions within the space. You know, the commissioning world for architecture, or even for homes, domestic situations, I still do that work when I'm asked, but I don't do competition work anymore. I just found it too soul destroying, you know, to really invest in something you really believed in for a space, and then for somebody else to get it. You know, it's like, and they're usually your friends, so you feel bad about feeling bad or whatever, or ex-students, or, you know, it's not that I wouldn't do architectural work now, but I wouldn't want to compete for it. I've just done a couple of panels for a door in St Dogmaels, and that's, you know, that's been a really nice commission to work on, where they've just said, "Chris, we just want your work." And so it took a lot longer probably than if they'd said, "We want something, you know, that's like this," because I had designed it. And then I really enjoyed the process of making it for them. I haven't got images of them in yet, but they have been delivered now. So, yeah. This new body of work actually came from a nomination that I was made by Ruthin Craft Centre when I was lecturing for many years, head of glass departments, and then finally head of MA Glass here in Swansea. And after I left, Philip nominated me for a Creative Wales Ambassador Award. And the idea was that you would go somewhere in the world where you really felt would help or stimulate your practice in a new way. And so I had my first one-person exhibition in the Contemporary Museum in Honolulu in Hawaii. So I had all this body of work that when I was asked about the ambassadorship, where I'd like to go, I said, well, I know it sounds a bit cushy, but it's Hawaii. I'd really like to go back there. So when I went back, I thought I was going to pick up this work from 25 years before. I'd been working with buckets at that time, buckets, baskets, things that held image, and I'd made some really big ones to hang there. But actually what happened was I started playing with movement. And so that's when this one came about. And following on from that, when I got back here, I thought, well, actually, I'd like them to be three-dimensional. And so then all the ideas around love spoons in Wales and everybody having a spoon story. And people do have a favourite spoon or, some memory. So, these are quite grandiose really, and the idea behind them is that they're quite ceremonial, or they've got a feeling of being something you've got to be careful with, and they're big, and you can see the whole world in them. I was given an award to make 7 silver spoons, and out of that came the ideas for the more animated Juicy Spoon series, which I wanted to have the same colour as Spangles. You remember the Spangle sweets? But they used to get stuck in the roof of your mouth and cut you. Well, again, going back to childhood, that was a real memory I had of, holding the Spangle up and seeing it and then sucking it a bit more and seeing a hole in it and, playing with it. And so this idea for Juicy Spoons came about. And there are 7 colours. These were very much about relating to the body as well, that they had a feel that you'd want to pick them up, you'd want to not just leave them lying as ornaments, but, actually that they've got that quality, this part of it, like, tucking over the shoulder and being almost able to wear it, I'm very happy with working with the blower I worked with, Neil Wilkin. I needed somebody who was really a master blower to make them because they're very difficult to actually achieve. Every colour has a different quality. So in order to make a series of 7 where they were all a similar shape and size, it was actually a lot more difficult than I appreciated. And glass blowing is not a cheap thing to do for the environment or for the pocket. So I realised that they were actually beautiful on their own. They've all got characters, they've all got different qualities. I think when I decided I wanted to definitely go and do the course in Swansea was when I went to Liverpool, which was not too far from Llangollen. But I walked into the Metropolitan Cathedral there where Patrick Rentins and John Piper did the lantern. And it's made of dalle de verre glass, which is slabs of glass, originally made as the term dalle de verre in France. And I walked into that space and it was around about midday and it felt like I was walking into a fog because it was very bright light outside and the blue glass was just filling the space with this kind of, it was just magical. It was just absolutely magical. And it made me realise that glass could do that. And, it's not that I'm specifically or overly religious, but I think being able to have your spirits uplifted, it's light that does that. And the mediation of light, I have a great trust in guidance coming from somewhere. I'm not religious, overly religious. I believe, you know, I don't know what I really believe, but I do know that if I have the intention of reconnecting with something deep within myself, I will be guided to do whatever. And all of this is all the journey, isn't it? You know, and I've had such a fantastic journey through my practice. I read, you know, I will see something on the street, I'll see something in a bush, I'll see something in the sky, and it will direct me. And I'm very open to that. For some people, I know they find that really too scary. You know, they need some reference to a piece of writing, or, you know, those come at the same time for me. You know, I sort of feel really lucky that I can indulge, if you like, in that process and not be fearful of it. Real challenges have been when I've spent a long time and really believed in a commission. And I remember fairly early on in my, well, the reason I went to the Royal College really was because I was pushing ideas about glass in architecture and even in stained glass, you know, actually working with lots of texture and different things. And people, when they commission you, although they don't know what they really want, when you present things, they know what they don't want. And, you know, it might be something that you've spent a long time with and really believe is right for that space. And I think that was my biggest challenge, was when I made the mistake of saying, they said, oh, I'd made something that was all about water and the way that water reflects light. And it was, you know, it was a religious window in a hospital ward that was only going to be used in a religious way at weekends, but it was to be in the ward the whole time. So I thought I'd base it on, there's somewhere in just outside Ruthin in North Wales, which is a holy well. And I'd been there and I'd studied it, and I'd looked at, you know, the reflections in the still waters, and then the real effervescence in the little waterfall bits, you know. And so I'd really worked to that. Anyway, the committee saw it and they said, oh, you know, we really wanted reds, blues and purples. Can you do it in reds, blues and purples? And I said, wouldn't really work. Oh, we think it would. And I made the mistake very early on in my career of showing a drawing of it in those colours. And they said, oh, we love it. So something that was going to probably take me, I don't know, a couple of months to make for this window, for the same price, I made in less than a week and installed in these colours. And I've never been back to it. And I'm sure they love it because it's the colours they wanted. And that was a really big challenge and lesson for me, really. You know, and that from then on, I haven't ever shown anything I didn't want to make. It was a big lesson, really, really big lesson. I think I've been rather inclined more towards good luck and you know, good things rather than actually having challenges. I've been lucky in the studios I've had over the years. I've been lucky in my colleagues and my fellow craft workers. I've enjoyed lots of collaboration over the years, which I really enjoy collaboration. I enjoy that bouncing of ideas, you know, not feeling too precious about one thing, but actually working with it to the best it can be with two people. Yeah, and maintaining trust in your process, I think, even when things seem to be going all wrong and everything else, and just being able to be brave and fearless in those moments and carry on. Yeah.